Welcome, everybody, to another exciting episode of the Game Informer Show. Pop, everyone. I'm your host, Ben Reeves, in the house. We're popping and locking, and I'm with a couple of very special guests. Liana Rupert.
What up?
How you doing?
I'm great. I'm excited for this
Back on
particular
the show.
podcast. Yeah. More RPG goodness. I'm down.
You should be excited. Well, no, don't spoil anything.
Oh,
I don't want to know
okay.
yet. Alex Stadnick, how's it going?
I'm just excited to be pop locking and dropping it with you, Ben.
Yeah, man. Dropping it right here. You know who else is popping out of his jacket? Mr. Dan Tack.
Hey, what's up? It's always great to be here, Ben. Great to be on the show. We're gonna get it real popped today. Popped like spicy popcorn. There we go.
That's
Boom.
right. Yes, and
Spicy popcorn.
It's the best kind.
What kind do you put? What spices do you put on your popcorn?
Ghost pepper, sea salt.
Good Lord, man.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
That sounds delicious.
You live dangerously.
Very.
this might be a controversial opinion, but the only popcorn I really like is popcorn shrimp.
That is extremely controversial.
Yeah,
So
I
you
don't
even like
I'm
that.
not, I don't hate the flavor. I just hate that like stuff gets in your teeth. I can't eat a single kernel of popcorn without something getting in my teeth, and I just hate it. So
That's fair.
fair.
I throw out my hands, and I'm like, why bother? There's other snacks that don't do
You
this
just
to me.
swallow it whole. Like that would be fine, right?
That
I
doesn't
should
sound
try that.
painful at all.
Do it.
I should just try swallowing the kernels whole.
Would get stuck in your teeth.
Yeah, there you go.
You know they do.
Perfect.
They do sell those too. I eat those as snacks sometimes. Popcorn kernels.
I think you're supposed to cook those ahead
No,
of time.
they're
man.
called like half popped kernels. That's a real thing. Like they're crunchy. They're a crunchy snack.
I
I'm not
like
even joking.
I
Check
would
them
do
out.
that.
Check
That
them
sounds
out.
really good. I like the kernels. That's my favorite part.
They're not a full, like I said, they're half pop, right? So it's like it's not just biting down on a kernel. It's like, but they're not actual popcorn either.
It's like
They're
Russian
like-
roulette with your teeth. Will it break your tooth this
These
time?
are,
I
these
don't
are, all
know.
right. Well,
This is not a real thing, man.
it's a very real thing, and I'll show you after the show.
We should
Okay.
make it a thing, and then the mascot for it would be a colonel. It'd be like a popcorn colonel, but he'd also be a military leader. There you go.
Would he
Ben,
clash
get us
with-
out of here.
Would he
But it
clash
already
with
said,
the
like,
commanders?
That's why we're here to talk about games. This is the Game Informer Show, the show where we inform you about games, of course. That's our tagline. Always has been, always will. Leanna, let's start with you. And I'm sure, Dan, you'll want to jump in on this, but I heard you were playing a game that recently went into early access.
Playing being the lucrative term because I was not doing well. Apparently, it's been a minute. But yeah, we were playing some Baldur's Gate 3 goodness yesterday on the stream. Wasn't playing it well, but it was really fun. That's been like the game I've been looking forward to the most. Especially, like I think Dark Alliance is still my favorite Baldur's Gate of all time. And so to be able to play one in like actual like this gen graphics and by Larian, who did Divinity Original Sin. Oh, so good. So good.
Yeah, I was excited to jump into. Like, I haven't really ever played a Baldur's Gate, but I feel like if I'm going to get in, like, this is the time to get in. It's big. It's like 56 gigs. Took me all day to download. Finally started it up last night. I'm like, all right, let's dive in. And it's like character creation. By the time that was done, I was like, well, it's time for bed.
Yeah, I think that was like half the stream was trying to decide a character. And then I ended up scrapping her last night and I started a new character.
Oh, really?
So all that work. I liked the drow, but I wanted to try something a little bit different. So I went lock and then I just went a different class and everything because I don't know. I wasn't doing well with my rogue, so I figured I need to switch it up.
Dan, you created a character too, right?
Did I? Yes. I'm currently playing a warlock through my adventures.
Yes.
I got started last night. Obviously, there's a lot to go through. Apparently, 25 hours ish of gameplay in this early access Act 1 period. If it's anything like Divinity Original Sin 2, which it is a lot like, which is really a really great take. I know you mentioned earlier saying, this is your first Baldur's Gate experience. That's fine. Like, this really is Larian's take on Baldur's Gate. I'm glad it's not the old school Baldur's Gate experience because honestly, I don't think those games have aged well, despite being amazing games when they came out. Like, I can't go back and play Baldur's Gate 2 today, even if I did think it was amazing the first time I ever played it back on, a 486 or whatever a billion years ago.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point. And I'd love to back up even a little bit, just like for people who have never been into this series or even like the classic CRPGs as they're called. why does this game matter? Like, what is this? What is it? And like, why is it worth checking out?
I mean, what is it really? This is really like sort of the combination of Divinity Original Sin 2 mixed with Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, but
So
back up and pretend we're even stupider than that, Dan, because
okay.
like a lot of people don't even know what games you're talking about.
And
So
they
this
and that,
is
here's the good part. They don't have to. But I think
Yeah.
that's a strength actually. But if we want to go back, the founding fathers of the CRPG genre, essentially, what made these isometric, very story-rich, narrative-driven, dialogue-driven, big choices that impact the gameplay. Those go all the way back to the Black Isle sort of CRPGs like Baldur's Gate, like Icewind Dale. There was a whole bunch of them back in the day, and they were revolutionary for the time. They let you play with Dungeons and Dragons rule sets inside a computer game, which was astounding, really. You got to like cast your magic missiles and get the whole experience of D6ing and D10ing. That's like a number of sides on a die for those who are. Hey Ben, you told me to dumb it down. Okay, so
hey,
um,
treat me like a dummy, man. Yeah, so you're basically playing D&D in a game,
right.
and it's an RPG, and it's super nerdy. And I've tried, for all honesty, I say it's my first Baldur's Gate. I tried Baldur's Gate like 10 years ago and just found it
Didn't vibe.
totally incomprehensible. Like it's just like it's so like first of all, it doesn't look great. It hasn't
That's
aged
true.
super well, right? And then just like mechanically, there's so many systems and stuff. If you're not a D&D nerd, I'm sure D&D nerds love it. And I'm not trying to insult them by calling them nerds.
We're
I
all
call myself a
nerds
nerd.
here.
We're
Yeah.
all nerds.
But like I'm sure if you're really hardcore into this stuff, you love it. But somebody who's outside of that system, it's hard to get in. That said, this feels a little bit more approachable. Like
It's
you
a
guys
little bit more
say that's
approachable, but
true.
it's still very deep. They've tried to do a really good job at incorporating, like I said, they didn't just take Divinity Original Sin 2 systems and put them in here. They've got all the D&D systems in here as much as can possibly be for a computer game. Like they have the concept of like having to refresh your daily spells and free actions on top of your regular actions, but it's all served up in a way that that works. And you get these big moments where it's like, oh, saving throw time, buddy. Are you going to do it? Oh, crit throw, crit natural 20. All those moments, all those D&D moments are there, which is interesting. But you don't have to be a D&D hound to understand them. I will say that, some CRPG experience is recommended. I don't know. I didn't check the difficulty settings. I don't know if they have a story difficulty like they had for Divinity OS2, which was super helpful for people who are not used to the genre that want to experience the game, because so far the battles I've had have been pretty tough. Uh, there was a bugbear and a warg that really worked me over.
And you're playing on just the default.
Yeah, I haven't messed with any difficulty settings, so that's why I'm asking. I don't know if there actually are difficulty settings in the game yet. I'm sure there will be on launch and everything. I don't know if the early access embraces those as well. They probably do. And
I
and
didn't
one thing I
check.
really want to, yeah, I'm not gonna. One thing I really do want to check out that I haven't yet is the Twitch integration stuff. I know that's only for a very select amount of people who want to stream the game, but like having the community be able to make the choices and just f you up in crazy cool ways. I mean, because that's what they're gonna do, right? They're gonna be like, oh, kill him," and then at every turn it's gonna be like, guys, they're gonna make it way harder and way more interesting. Really, I want to see what happens when I just let Twitch plays make the calls.
But they're
Sure.
gonna
So
mess
how
with
does
your
that
romance.
Well, you can play through more than once, especially since we've only got the first act here, right?
Yeah, that's true. I am gonna play. I want to play as a dude. I want to see how different some of the characters respond, especially the vampire. Haha.
Ooh,
Well, I was confused by that too, because like when I went out, full disclosure, went out and like saw the game when it was revealed. I think that was this year, which seems crazy because it feels like it was
it
10 years ago.
it does feel that way.
But
Yeah.
they had talked about in that event that you could play as any of the companions. But for this, that's not in the game yet. Apparently, you have to play as a created character
Yes,
so far.
so
Early
far.
access.
Now, see, what I expect that will happen down the line is that they're going to include sort of a Divinity OS2 system where you can pick one of the mains and you'll go through their storyline like you would have in Divinity OS2 with like the Red Prince or,
Yeah.
any of those.
I know last year, or no, it was this March, I think. We did a press demo with Larian for it, and he was playing as Asterion, which is the vampire, and that he killed my wife. He killed the person I was trying to romance because he failed a crit check, and I was so mad. I cried. I think the first time I like teared up at a press demo, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting because that's like all of these characters react very differently to your choice your dialogue options and things like it's very immersive. And to be able to play through these characters, I think is going to be big because it's going to see why they're so reactionary. And because there's a lot of parts with Asterion where you don't realize he's going to react a certain way. Like he likes pain and he likes you to kind of bully him a little bit. Because I tried to be nice to him and he got really upset with that. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, well, I'll be a jerk to you. That's fine. I'm
I can
not here to
relate.
kink shame.
Story seems neat so far from what I've seen. I mean, the opening CG thing is stunning. Looks cool. And then
The-
the moments where you interact with other characters, like they have the classic kind of Mass Effect camera back and forth, which helps a ton, honestly, as somebody
The
who's like
lighting
not
was
super into CRPGs. But yeah, Alex.
the lighting was so beautiful watching Liana play too on even that like at 720p. I was happily surprised at how beautiful the game looks. Not that I was expecting it to look bad. Dan, I do want to pick up on something you talked about earlier. You said you would advise people to come into this with a little bit of CRPG knowledge base.
I would.
And Leon and I talked about that on the stream yesterday, but like where would you start? Because like D&D is something new in my life that I'm really enjoying with my friends, but like everything you guys have talked about sounds intimidating. So it's like I downloaded Wasteland 3 last night and start playing it, but I was like, is that a good starting point for this kind of genre? I'm curious on everyone's thoughts, but starting with Dan.
So what I think is it's sort of an inherent challenge with the CRPG. You can't make a CRPG super accessible because, for one, okay, number one, we're all very used to guided game experiences at this point, right? You've got like quest things that tell you where to go, what to do, who to talk to. The whole point of a CRPG is that you can do whatever you want with whoever you want, whenever you want, right? It's the wheels are off. You can go crazy if you want. So just being able to like play a game that way can be really challenging for somebody who's just gone from like point A to point B to point C, and then maybe you go to point D or point E. But like having just point A to point Z with nothing guiding you in between can be overwhelming for somebody trying one of these experiences. I would say Wasteland 3, I enjoyed Wasteland 3 a lot. Um, sure, good place to start. The problem is there's no baby's first CRPG that I can direct you to because the whole CRPG is essentially just giving you so much absurd freedom and character customization and tools to do all kinds of weird stuff that you never think to do. Like get creative, get crazy, get wild, but accept that you're going to take some lumps along the way. Divinity OS2, put it on story difficulty and play that. That's a good way to figure it out because most just having like I've got 20 spots to put abilities and I've got all these inventory spaces and I've got all these items. I don't know what they do. Oh, I can use it that way. I can pick up a barrel and throw the barrel at someone. Why can I do this? Why can I do that? Can I light it on fire before I do it? And then you can do all these things and they all matter.
I'm almost wondering if, and you guys can yell at me if it's not, but hearing that and kind of going through that similar experience playing Dungeons and Dragons for the first time this year, I wonder if people would be better off if have a group of friends who are interested starting with actually pen and paper D&D and seeing if they like that. Because all that, like, that was the hard thing for me with Dungeons and Dragons was when we started, I am so used to that structure of games of A to B to C to, the whole alphabet. And our DM was like, we were arguing about something. My DM was like, you guys know this isn't a video game, right? You can do whatever. And I was like, oh, that's right. I can pull the rug out from the demon and run away and that kind of stuff. So I don't know
You
if
can
this
flirt
also,
with the demon.
you can see. I didn't.
You can bone the demon. You might fail the check, but you could do it. You could try.
You could.
That's a theme here, Leanna. I feel like
I've
you're
boned
maybe
the
into a
demon
certain
too.
kind of thing.
Yeah, we're you
Do
can
a
tell I'm a
charisma check?
Bioware fan. Yeah.
Well, to go back to the point of like, it feels like there's a lot of flexibility here in this system. Just early on, I was in one fight. I messed around with one fight before I put it away. And one of my characters was not going to be close enough to be able to attack the enemy. And so with my other character, with their extra move, I like shoved them. You can do certain moves like shoving or jumping or whatever. So I shoved the other character closer to the enemies, which maybe that's an obvious move that people do all the time, but I felt like I was clever at the time. And then they were close enough to attack. It was kind of cool.
Free action, baby. And
That's right.
That's a cool system that they've incorporated. Like, they have the hardcore spell. I mean, it's a very interesting and again ambitious mix, right? This is one of those games where you don't want to bring Baldur's Gate back and then have it flop.
Yeah.
Which I don't think there's any danger of after playing a little bit of the early access, but obviously still a long way to go on this one. And Larian's really good at iterating with the community what needs to be changed, what needs to be fixed, fixing all the little quirks and bugs, of which there will be plenty, I am sure. Uh, but
Mhm.
yeah, I was also surprised by the dark tone of this one, man. It gets really, really fast, man. And I get it; it's Forgotten Realms is Mind Flayer, so we're going into that whole Cthulhu-esque area of D&D, but it's going to get, you
I
know,
mean, your first scene is digging in somebody's brain. Oh my! I thought the first time when I failed the dexterity check, I thought I was gonna throw up because she was just like, yeah, like the sounds and the spurting, and I was just like,
And the
this is really
face too. He's
awkward.
like,
Yeah, I was like, I'm so sorry. I know you're not real, but I'm so sorry.
Rated M for Mind Flayer, right?
yeah,
It
there it
is.
is. That's
ah,
There
back
it
of the box
is.
right there, Larry, and you can have that one for free.
Well, we're a long way from a review, obviously, but
Yeah.
seems promising, right? You guys would say, like, if you're into this, definitely worth checking out. You can dive in now.
So I would say if you're a fan of CRPGs, an absolute must play, but you can always wait, right? A lot of people don't like doing the early access thing; they want the full thing at the time. So
Nobody
that's
wants to
cool.
wait for Christmas, Dan. They
They
want to
might,
dive
you
in
might
now.
want to, or you might want to open one present early, but then you've only got 3 presents left later. See,
Yeah.
that's the thing.
I've
Um,
only ever done early access if it's a game I'm really excited for. Otherwise, I'll wait because I don't want it to be like spoiled. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I understand why people. Although, what I'm really excited for is I'm really excited because we saw a big insurgence of new D&D players with Divinity. And I feel like it's becoming so like in the spotlight. You've got Critical Role, and then you've got a big streaming D&D community now that is bigger than it's ever been. I'm really excited to see how the D&D community grows after this because I feel like there's so much hype around it, and Larian has such a good reputation already that this is going to bring a lot of people that might not be into like Alex, you were saying, like not being a CRPG fan. It's going to bring in an entirely new demographic into this, which is going to reflect well, I think, on D&D because there's so many amazing homebrews. Like we wrote about the Mass Effect homebrew yesterday. This is going to inspire an entire new wave of creativity in terms of homebrews and how this game is going to evolve before the next edition. I don't know. I'm just really excited to see the impact Baldur's Gate 3 is going to have on the tabletop community as a
Sure.
whole.
Yeah. Can't wait. And we won't have to wait too much longer, hopefully. I mean, it's
yeah,
out.
yeah,
But
it's out in early access. It's going to be a while before we get the full game, but I would definitely, if you're interested in an early access experience, do it.
yeah, for sure.
It's
Baldur's Gate 3 out
yep,
now.
just for PC
Just for
Well,
PC.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
and of course
Yeah.
Stadia, come on.
And
and
Stadia,
Stadia. There you
which
go.
is kind of like a PC in the
Yeah,
cloud.
it's like a it's like a cloud PC. It's like future, man.
If you
There's
close
another.
one eye and squint the other.
What?
If you
I was
close
gonna say
one eye
there's
and
another
squint the other.
game in the clouds. I was trying to make a cloud connection to Genshin Impact, Dan. Can you do
Oh.
that? Maybe you're better. There's clouds in that game, right? Done.
There's clouds in a lot of games, Ben, including that one.
Just
Perfect
to Genshin.
segue. Dan,
Hi.
I heard you were playing Genshin Impact and
I'm-
loving it.
You heard right. I have played a disturbing amount of that game. Rarely does a game hook me like that one has. And now that I'm 50 hours in, 55 hours in, it's obviously my activity is starting to fall off a little bit. But wowza, does it ever have hooks in the early first 30 hours for sure are golden. After that, depending on on your play experience, it's going to taper a little bit as we wait for more content. But it's only because it's sort of my fault. When you're playing the game 12 hours a day, yeah, you're going to burn through it pretty fast. That's
Well,
part of it.
I booted it up again. This is a game that I spent like maybe half an hour with. Game looks gorgeous, right? I think we can
Yeah,
all
so-
agree on that. It looks like Breath of the Wild.
Critics, some critics said that looked like that game.
Everybody's comparing it to Breath of the Wild, but which is kind of merited because gameplay wise, there's some similarities too. You have a stamina meter, you can climb everything.
The devs openly admitted it too. Like this Breath of the Wild was a huge inspiration.
I
Like
couldn't listening to Dan's stream when he did it last week. There were some moments where I wasn't watching, but then I heard the combat music and I was like, did he switch to Breath of the Wild? And then I looked and I was like, oh no, but it's the influence is strong. But I don't think that's a bad thing, right, Dad?
Did you
Well,
play
you-
Breath of the Wild, Dan?
That's the thing. No, I haven't played it for more than like 10 minutes.
That's
So no.
insane to me.
Isn't it? I've heard this
Yeah.
before, but yeah, I have not. So I'm
You
coming
really-
to this experience without Breath of the Wild.
in
Okay.
my opinion, you're
In
not
my-
missing much.
That's very interesting. So what did you love about it?
Wow. Well, the vast open world nature. This is a game that really. So from what I've been told, the Breath of the Wild stuff, the exploration stuff, which is obviously the awesome stuff, right? You got gliding, swimming, using elemental things. I don't know if that's in Breath of the Wild. So, like, let's say you want to cross a lake, you can use ice to freeze it, or you come across some like wind thing. You can use ice, fire, wind, water, all of the elements to do various things around the world, like burn brambles off of a chest to unlock it, smash through earth things. There's all kinds of junk. Anyway, elemental puzzle solving. Basically, this world, okay, is you find one thing, and then when you find that one thing, you find three other things. Like you could be on a main quest, you'll never do it. It'll be like 3 hours before you're like, wait, I came out here to do that one thing, but I did 50 other things, and I found all this other cool puzzle stuff, and stumbled upon some ancient treasure and all these other cool interactions in the world, and you'll just get completely lost, and sucked in, doing that stuff. That forms the backbone of the experience, of the exploration, and you combining that exploration stuff with what I would call, a JRPG progression system. To be
Mhm.
clear, it's not a JRPG. It was made in China, but it's got JRPG elements, lots of them, lots of JRPG progression hooks. So let's say, and then you've got
But
sort
it's
of
a
a
live action combat system. When I
yep,
hear JRPG, I think turn-based combat, but it's
not
like a
turn
live
based.
action combat system
I've heard
where
the
you have
combat
like
system.
4 different characters, correct? Where you can swap between them?
Yeah, and you're going to be hot swapping between them based on, again, these elemental interactions, which are used for problem solving in the world, but also used in combat. So let's say I can I'll light an enemy on fire before electrifying them. Think Divinity Original Sin 2. You have all kinds of elemental interactions that you can use by hot swapping your characters. Bring your fire person out, light them up, and then bring out your electric person, zap them, then bring out, your ice person and freeze them. And you can do all kinds of stuff. This is a really good way to kill stuff. Like something that might take a few minutes to kill can take you seconds if you correctly combine your elemental interactions.
I like what you said in your review about how, like, you just talked about it already about the freedom, but I like specifically in your review, you were talking about how, like, I would go to do a quest and then I would see somebody standing by the water. And then all of a sudden I'm uncovering this other entire new plot and it doesn't punish you for doing that. Like, I really like games that have that kind of freedom. Would
It
this would be like overwhelming though? Because I've noticed a lot of people were kind of worried about the open world kind of getting burnt out on that genre a little bit. Like, is it pretty user friendly in that term or?
Definitely. Like if you want, you can take it as it comes, right? If you want to do the hardcore min maxing and find every secret in every zone, sure, you're going to do that. But if you just want to wander, go for it. You can do that all day, every day. That's you can do that. There's always going to be stuff popping up in the world. It is a game of service. Like there are 2 out of the 7 regions currently in the game. 2 out of 7, and it's already massive.
Oh, I didn't realize they
Wow.
were still adding stuff, but I guess that
Oh
totally
yeah,
makes sense.
it's going to get a
So
lot of
is the narrative like done, or did it feel like there's a cliffhanger at the end?
it's going to have, because it is a game of service, it's going to have sort of act by act stories. So some of those threads are completed, but you're always going to have more threads and more story to discover. It's not a, oh, I beat the game kind of thing.
Well,
Um,
how many hours do you feel like you put into it just to get to where they have now?
I'd say that the current thing where you're gonna taper off is around 35 hours.
Okay, that's not too bad then.
No.
So far,
Mm-mm.
anyway.
Mhm.
But you
And that's
mentioned it's
you're still gonna
basically
keep playing, but you're gonna play a lot less per day.
sure, sure. I mean, it's a free game, which comes with, there's all the gotcha elements,
Yes.
which you felt was fair.
No, I felt that they were the least bad of gotcha that I've played.
That's
It's
fair.
like being the friendliest serial killer. All right, it's still a
Okay.
predatory monetization system that I can never endorse, and it's preys upon gambling instinct and slot machines and all that other fun stuff. But out of all the gacha games which I've played, which have been many, many on mobile, this one is the least offensive of all of them, and you can play completely free. I made sure that my review experience was completely untainted by any kind of real money transaction. So it is a great game to play for free. But at the same time, I can't pretend like the game wouldn't be better without that monetization system.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's cool that there's a free game you can play if you're looking for a free game, but maybe know thyself.
Mhm.
Are you a person that's going to be tempted to,
Yeah, but like I always talk about with
lose
these
your house?
experiences, you don't know yourself. They the systems and the algorithms and all this stuff has been specifically designed to take advantage of you and your instincts as a human, to enjoy these experiences. That said, again, this game is the least predatory of the gotcha games that I have ever played, and you can play completely free and have a really great time.
Sure. I mean, if this game is the least bad of all those games you're
Mhm.
talking about, Is there a way to ever do this free to play system and do it in a way that's doesn't feel like you're talking with a serial killer? You know what I mean? Like, is there a way to do
Is there a
it?
way to do gotcha? No. There's a way to
Like,
do other free to play systems, right?
could the Pope, who's like free of sin, create a gotcha game?
I guess if all the gotcha was free, I mean, it would be difficult. Gotcha is an inherently, it's a slot machine system where you try to get cool stuff out of it. So it's tough. You'd have to have the currency, dumped on you in game, and then what's the point of the system anyway, right? I think Xenoblade 2 does that. I haven't played it, but I heard that it uses a gachapon system and it's not a free to play game. I will say, as a free to play game, Genshin Impact will give you so much for nothing, an incredible amount. Like, I can't believe the game is free. I've played many AAA fully paid experiences that have additional monetization on top of them, by the way, that are not as good as Genshin, not even close. So,
wow,
it's definitely worth playing. I do not doubt that at all. It's my game of the year right now, despite the system.
What?
Wow!
Wow!
Yeah, it
So
beat Hades.
overtook
Hades got to be my game of the year for a week.
Yeah, I was gonna say, shine bright for so little.
Oh, that's amazing. That blows me away. I'm so shocked. I don't even know what to say. I'm glad to hear that the game's system itself are like exciting and draw you in further, because like narratively it feels very tropey, and like there's a character you meet early on, Paimon, or I don't know what her name is. She does that really annoying thing where she says her name when she speaks to herself. It's like, Paimon wants to go over here. Paimon's hungry. Snarf. Like,
she is the worst. Paimon is terrible, and you can change your dialogue to Japanese to get around her annoyance.
Well, she'll still say her name though, won't she?
Yeah, but you won't be able to understand it. It'll sound cool.
Okay.
Right? It'll be in Japanese. The thing is, the opening hour, you can change it to Chinese or Korean as well. Yes.
Oh, you can change it to wherever you want. Great. How about British Columbian?
I know that there are 16 written languages in there available and 4 spoken.
Just have Siri narrate the whole thing.
But the opening hours, I think, are among the weakest. The story and the dialogue are weak. Do not play this game. The story in this game is an emergent story that you create. It's your experiences of, like, I was wandering around these mountains and I found this stone crane puzzle, which is an experience you'll have. And figuring that thing out is glorious. All right, and completely, you can do it whenever you want. You are unfettered by a game saying, "Go do this quest." You just do you. You can go explore. You can go to the final portion of the open world from the beginning of the game if you feel like it. There's a couple of locked areas from story beats, but you are basically on your own. And
all right, you convinced me, Dan. I'm going to check it out some more.
You should. Play more. The first tutorial, like, God, there's like 10 hours of tutorial, and I hate to be that guy who's always like, it gets good X hours in, right? Because that's like the worst thing ever. And it's like, yeah, that JRPG really starts percolating around the 40-hour mark. It's like, no, that's but it is a sort of a slow start to try to get you into all the systems.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It
really
is free to play, which is nice.
It is,
and it's on what, PC, PS4,
PS4, and mobile devices, if you can believe it.
That's wild.
You tried it on mobile?
What's that?
Have you tried it on mobile?
I have not tried it on mobile. I have no desire to play anything on but PC. I play PC with a controller.
I can't imagine if that would work well, but PC maybe it does.
Reviews on the site. What'd you give it, Dan?
I gave it a 9.25.
Hey, congrats.
And remember, that monetization hurt it. So this is a really good game worth you should check it out. Just
if it had been a paid game, no monetization.
Oh, no. We're not gonna play Game Informer What If here. We don't do that. Like, it would have been a different experience,
right?
We
did, Dan? What if
it would have been would be a completely different experience that I would have had to evaluate differently based on those criteria.
That's right.
So
your move, Hades. Anything else, Dan?
Quickly, I love that we classified this as the Ed Kemper of video games. That's great, as for being a serial killer. But also,
I did not put a name on it.
Just a serial killer. I also love that Liana threw the ultimate shade at Breath in the Wild, and we just totally. I caught that, Liana. You didn't get away with that.
I'm expecting the comments to be like, she's not allowed back just off of that alone.
We can do this another time if we want, but I wanted to throw it out there.
Throw it out there, Alex. On that, let's start some.
I just think Breath of the Wild was incredibly overrated. I'm very glad that people.
Well, that's all the time we have. Alex, you've been
Play
playing
us
some
out.
games, right?
Those Nintendo fans, they are not kind. That's all I
Sorry,
gotta say.
readers. Oh, I know. I reviewed it and I got many of like colorful threats.
Oh,
It was I've seen firsthand. I don't know. It's good. It's a good game. I'm not saying it's not a good game. It's a good game. It's not revolutionary like people were saying. The mechanics bugged the crap out of me. There was lulls in the gameplay that felt disjointed. The pacing was weird. It just there was a lot of things that I had wrong with it. But I'm very happy for everyone that loved it, and if you think it's the best game in the world, I'm very happy for you. Please don't kill me.
yeah, you hear that, Ben? Take your poster down. Get it out of there.
Yeah, Ben.
I blacked
I'm
out
just
for a
kidding.
minute. What game was she talking about?
Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Genshin Impact,
yeah.
yeah.
But that is wild. So many times who am I working with? You monsters. Alex, help me out here. Tell me something good. What have you been playing?
Let's talk about Star Wars. Nothing
Hey,
but
I like Star Wars.
I like
They've
Star
never
Wars.
done anything bad, right? There's never been a bad Star Wars.
talk about blacking out the last. Never mind. Not going to get into that movie. Not
What?
getting into
We're
my
targeting two
opinions of the
fandoms in
movies.
one. All right.
What is even happening today?
That the last movie is not my favorite. Anyways, so
You
we
can
talked
say
a little
that.
bit.
You can
Yeah.
say that here.
It's not my favorite. That's okay.
Safe space.
Guess what?
Safe
It's not
space.
my favorite either.
Yeah. Also, I guess if
Close
we're.
to my favorite.
I
In
think.
fact, it's bad. Okay, how about that? Let's do that.
Oh, the comments section.
Throw it out
Just
there.
rile up every fan base out there, right? Hey, I didn't like Red Dead.
Yeah.
Let me just tell me about it.
Let's do this.
That could be fun.
I got Red Dead thoughts. Let's do it.
No. You're
Yeah.
stealing the playlist from Alex.
Yeah,
Alex has to talk.
right. The playlist, games.
Anyways, games. Star Wars Squadrons. This is a fun one. We talked about it last week, but I've played about 3/4 of the story, and the story I feel like is very much. It feels like tutorials that are setting you up for the multiplayer. And I'm okay with that. I wasn't coming to this to be told a Mandalorian, Fallen Order type of story. I was excited for the dogfighting, and in that regard, I think it really, really holds up. I am loving my time with the multiplayer. There are some issues that I've encountered. I guess going with the good first. Whatever Motive did to tighten their controls is incredible. That it feels like I can turn on a dime at any point, no matter if I'm prioritizing shield versus my weapons versus the options that it gives you, and it just feels so good. There was so many times last night that I was like 5 health. My astromech was screaming, like I didn't know what was happening, but I was able to quickly maneuver my way through asteroids and shipwreckage, and it just felt like you just get that tingle in the back of your neck. You're like, oh, this is pod racing. So that is all great. I don't know, Ben and you guys, I don't know how much you have played or not.
Well, I'll tell you, I've never gotten a tingle at the back of my neck that I thought it was pod racing, but
Yeah, that might be a fear, Alex. You might want to watch out.
Maybe that's a personal problem. I'll get that checked out. I never was in a close match in Dogfight, whether I was winning or losing. There was always someone, and sometimes it was me, but there was someone always racking up 10 to 15 kills on one team, and either it was 30 to 16 us or them. I never found an in between on that. I'm curious, Ben, if you found that. So that kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit. But sometimes I need, and that's what I used to look for in the old Call of Duties, is like sometimes I want a multiplayer experience where I can kind of shut my brain off a little bit and just play. I'm not worried about
the tingle.
Yeah, I need to be one with the tingle. I think that's called the Force, maybe.
You're Force sensitive, dude. Congrats. Yeah, I've had similar experiences I haven't played multiplayer a ton, honestly. So maybe it's maybe just a fluke, but I've been mostly focusing on the single player, which I like. Okay, I think you're right. I think since the beta, I felt like the controls were off, and now the final release feels a lot better. So I like that. I actually played it in VR, and at first I was like, "Man, this is probably the way to do it. Just VR all the time." And yeah, I don't know. After 1 or 2 missions, I was kind of like, maybe I'll switch back out of VR. So I feel like I want to like do VR some, but like for some things, it's I don't know. It felt harder to control in VR, if that makes any sense.
I was
Yeah.
told it's better with like the sticks, like the
I'm sure it
control
would
sticks.
be.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I haven't tried it in VR yet, but I want to. But I'm holding out on that because I want to do like the full. Like I have like the full Star Wars pilot costume, and I want to like go like all in and be totally like weebed out.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely the way to play, but I think I want to do it in short bursts. So
For
I'll
sure.
keep trucking along on that. But you're kind of enjoying it?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really am. This is, and bear with me as I try to stumble over my words here. I'm with Dan where I think a lot of the microtransactions out there are really gross. That being said, I feel like it's almost a missed opportunity to maybe not on a microtransaction level, but maybe like DLC or something. I guess that's technically a microtransaction, but I would have loved to be flying over Coruscant in a Naboo fighter. You know, I would love to have the prequel ships, the sequel ships. Like I feel like they could have done some really cool stuff catering to all of those eras. And maybe they will in the sequel. I hope it. I looked on Xbox. Obviously, this isn't the end all be all of sales, but it's number one on Xbox digital marketplace right now. Like,
Is this a please take my money plea? Is that what this is?
it's not, but I would be willing to pay $60 for the next one if it meant a stream of new maps and new ships. Because I think Motive has something with those controls and that sense of holy crap, I am in an X-Wing. Like I think they nailed that, and I would love to see them iterate on that and expand that. And I know you can do that a bit in Battlefront, but I think there's room there to grow, which is that's what you can ask for from a first game. And
Is that your review? Star Wars Squadrons, room to grow.
Yeah. That's the subhead right there, baby. So yeah, I'm really enjoying my time with it. I'm not gonna play 60 hours of it, but I'm excited to just like if I'm burnt out on let's say Cyberpunk coming up and I'm like, I just need I need to play multiplayer for like, an hour. I think that's gonna be my game.
Nice.
Very nice. Cool. Yeah, I've been enjoying that too. I've also been playing a game I can't talk about, but mostly I've been playing a lot of Mario 64 on the DS.
Whoa.
Which
yeah.
I bought the Mario All-Stars collection, and then I was like, you know what? I never played the DS version of Mario 64. I played it on the 64, but I never want to play the DS version, and the DS version isn't on this disc. So maybe I'm crazy, but I went back to the DS version of Mario 64, which I think is probably the superior version, honestly.
Definitely. I was just going to say, I think it is the better version that we have, especially because they added Wario, they added some like mini games. I think you can play as Yoshi, right?
You can play it. You start out as Yoshi, actually. So the first part of the game is you as Yoshi trying to rescue Mario, Luigi, and Wario.
That's right. Yeah.
And then all the characters function a little bit differently. They have different they control the same, but they have different like abilities that make them good for specific things. So you need certain characters to get certain stars. And then there's like 30 extra stars. This game is what, 10 plus years old? So like none of this is new news, but it's a really fun way to play this old game if, you're in the mood and you want to dig it up.
I'm definitely in the
and
mood.
it's fun.
I'm
having fun with it.
I was a Yoshi once, so I'm very interested in this.
Never again.
There's a little bit of Yoshi inside us.
Never again.
I love that we're playing like older games though, because like I've been on a huge Roll of Rose kick on PS2 because it's Halloween. This whole month is Halloween, and Roll of Rose is one of those gems that if you haven't played, I think wasn't it banned in Europe when it came out, because of the sexual nature to it.
Oh, I'm not familiar with.
Not sure.
What game is this?
Rule of
Baldur's Gate 3.
Rose.
Rule of Rose.
It's Rule of Rose. Oh my god, I will ship you my PS2 in this game if it means you'll play it. Like
It's
is
a
such
horror game.
It's a horror game, but it's a very subtle horror. Like there are like obviously overt horror aspects to it, but what makes it stick out is there's the subtleties, like the audio drops, and it's a bunch of kids in an orphanage, and it's freaking weird, man. But it's like probably one of my favorite games of all time, and that and Baldur's Gate 2 are the reasons I will never get rid of my PS2. But it was amazing, and it's like clockwork. Every Halloween, every October, I always pick it back up. It's tradition.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Yeah, you've definitely intrigued me. I'll have to check that one out. Hunt it down. We should do like a special like spooky episode, like with all the good horror games to play.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
Please.
We need to do a Halloween episode. All right,
Yeah.
we all need to dress up. And
Please! Oh my god, sorry, I'm getting really excited. Can we please?
Hey,
I'm getting really excited.
we definitely can, but we can't this week because we have to go because I need to go talk to Brian about the new Xbox. He's got his hands on the new Xbox and I want to find out all about it. So I'm sorry, guys. Stay here. I'll be back. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm still Ben Reeves. I still got Alex Stadnick with me.
Always.
But we're joined by two additional guests, very special guests. Jeff Cork, how's it going?
How are you?
Great. And Brian Shea.
Hi.
Hi. I love that
enthusiasm. Yay.
Off the charts, which you guys should be excited because we're here for a little segment we like to call Serious Eats with Brian Shea. How's it going, Brian?
Going so well.
What have you been cooking recently?
Well, Ben Reeves, I made a nice plate of pork katsu curry last night, and boy, oh boy, was it tasty.
You, I'm not even joking. You tweet about it quite a bit, or probably put it on Instagram. Your food looks really good. You're good at plating. Are you secretly a really good chef?
I've gotten much better. I mean, I started cooking a lot more, during the pandemic, but like before that, I still enjoyed like cooking and trying to, improve recipes and stuff like that. So, but yeah, during the pandemic, that's been like one of my go-to activities when I'm, alone at night.
Sad.
Yeah, sad and alone. It's like, all right, I might as well cook, enough food for two people and then put one of them in the fridge.
You must be really good at dividing by two.
Oh yeah, so no, I just make enough to have lunch the next day.
Well, that's interesting because I heard there was a recent guest at your house. You just got a new addition to the family, didn't you?
I did. It doesn't eat a whole lot. Maybe it eats a little bit of power, but it doesn't eat a whole lot of food.
You want to show us that little bouncing baby you got?
Yeah, I got a new roommate. It's
Xbox
Series X.
That's some serious eats right there.
Wow, serious eats.
How do you like it? Like, this is obviously a prototype version. It's not the final thing.
Well, hold on to your hat, Ben Reeves. This is the retail edition.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Whoa!
That's awesome.
Yeah, so this is what it will look like when you
And which store did you pick that up from?
It came in the mail, believe it or not. Pretty crazy,
It's great.
right?
It's a great combo.
Really
Storyteller.
What do you think? I don't know what you can share. There's a lot of like embargoes and stuff, and it's super confusing. Hopefully you have it straight, but what is your impression of the system?
I really hope I have it straight by now, because otherwise we're going to get in trouble. So, as you can see, it is rather large. It is both tall, wide, and deep. So you have to be kind of creative when it comes to your like where you put it on your entertainment stand. You can't really see it on my entertainment stand. I have like just a kind of a standard IKEA TV stand, but it has like two vertical slots that are about like they're big enough for like an Xbox One or a PS4 or a Blu-ray player, but there's no way in hell this thing is fitting in either of those. So what I had to do is I had to do what I do with my Switch, which, because it's a top-loading dock, you can't put that in like one of those vertical slots. I had to push my TV forward a whole bunch on the stand and then kind of hide this guy behind it, which, I go mostly digital these days, and almost all the peripherals are wireless at this point, so it's not really that big of a deal. But just something to be mindful of. Also,
why is your impulse to hide it, though? Because you have something that looks like a white version of it to the right of your television in the background.
Oh, that's a dehumidifier because I couldn't breathe down in my basement where I play all my video games and do all my work. So
so why you have that out in the open? So why not just have the system out in the open? It's probably better for the ventilation and whatnot, right?
The alternative is putting it in front of the TV, which would make it so I can't see the TV.
I don't see the problem.
What a life.
That would literally block like 5% of the television screen.
You can't do put it on its side?
Like turn it sideways?
Yeah.
I could, I guess. But then, I don't know.
Here we are. Sorry.
The bar at the bottom.
The question everybody wants to know: how many sides does the Xbox Series X have?
Yeah.
Oh man.
One.
That's embargoed. We can't talk about that.
So you got the new system in your house. You pushed your TV back. You set it all up. You turned on your dehumidifier. What is the first game you loaded up?
Final Fantasy 15.
Oh, of course.
So The downside of getting the hardware, like the Xbox Series X hardware before it's out, like not even close to when it's out, is that none of the new games are ready to play on it yet. So uh, I have been testing out a lot of backward compatible games. So I have downloaded like Final Fantasy 15, Red Dead Redemption 2, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Hitman 2, and then a few like smaller games like I wanted to test out just to like games that don't really take that long to load on Xbox One, but I wanted to see how close it was on Xbox Series X. Because like I'm looking at my chart that I did. If you go to GameInformer.com, you can see like the full hands-on preview that of stuff I can talk about right now. But I did a chart comparing load times, and like Final Fantasy 15 was the biggest difference. Actually, no, Final Fantasy 15 and Red Dead Redemption 2 are the two biggest differences. On Xbox One X, which has been touted over and over again by Microsoft as the most powerful console ever created to this point. Obviously, it takes a minute 14 seconds, almost a minute 15 seconds to load into the world of Final Fantasy 15. On Xbox Series X, you lose an entire minute, and it only takes 15 seconds. So that's pretty substantial. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, it was 45 seconds, dropped down to about 19 seconds. And then Red Dead Redemption 2 was nearly 2 minutes on Xbox One X, and it dropped down to just under 40 seconds on Series X.
Wow,
So
well, that's great.
You definitely save a lot of time. And then the other big thing that they have right now is Quick Resume, which is a new feature where it saves the exact state that you're in for like I think it's like 5 or 6 games. So like your 5 or 6 most recently played games. For example, I was playing Control, and I'm like walking through a hallway, and I backed out, and then I went over to play Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and it loaded me into that game, and then I hit the button, went back to Control, and I didn't have to go through like the intro screen or anything like that. It just loaded me up, and within probably about 5 or 6 seconds, I was right back into exactly where I was with no load time whatsoever.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm really excited about that feature because it's nice to have a game on pause and come back to it. But when you're swapping between games, which I do a fair amount, it is kind of annoying to have it load back up again.
Yeah,
So
it's a
that
huge
sounds awesome.
saver. The only thing it won't work with is like if you're playing a server-based game like Overwatch or Destiny 2, like where it boots you from the server for inactivity, like you will have that problem. Like even if you're just like sitting there at the main menu, if you're gonna get booted for inactivity, that will be the time that'll happen. But like if you're playing a single player game, like this so far has not given me any problems. Like I was able to jump between like 5 games without any issues whatsoever.
Did you test that? How long did you test that for? Like, could I start like Final Fantasy and then go play like Modern Warfare with my buddies for like 3 hours and come back and be able to play where I left off in Final Fantasy?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it was a pretty long. I don't know if I went quite 3 hours, but like I went and like I was testing out load times, and then I went back to I think it was Final Fantasy 15, and it was doing Quick Resume, or no, I was playing Final Fantasy 15 to test load times, and then I went back to Sonic Mania, and it booted me right up into that. So
cool.
It's pretty cool. Like I think that like the messaging that they've been saying is they're trying to figure out the easiest way to get you like back into the game with like the least amount of time, or like getting you into the fun as fast as possible is pretty much like the way they've been approaching it. And I think that it's coming through so far.
Cool. Well, I know you have a bunch of stuff written on the site already, Brian, so people can go check that out, obviously. It sounds cool. I'm excited to get a PlayStation in the office as well, or our houses, I guess, our office, quote unquote, so that we can test them both out and compare them. It should be a good time. Like, I'm excited. Next
I mean,
generation is almost here.
I'm very excited for the next generation, and I wasn't really that excited prior to playing it because like the speed of everything is what really got me into this. Because like it so far I haven't seen any games that I'm like, oh, I definitely need a next gen console for that. It's been like, all right, well, maybe when God of War comes out, I'll buy one. But like, I can play Miles Morales and I can play Horizon on PS4, and but like seeing how fast everything loads and like seeing that early demo of like how quick fast travel is in Spider-Man, like the original Insomniac Spider-Man game, like compared to a PS4 where it's like 45 seconds down to like 8 seconds, like that really is a big selling point for me. And it seems like similar stuff is happening with Xbox Series X.
But have you seen how quickly your bank account depletes?
That is another thing entirely. Yes.
Well, thanks for being on the show, guys, and talking about that. I know you guys missed the playlist, but were there any games that you've been playing this week that you're excited to talk about?
Yeah, I had there was a Watch Dogs Legion event not long ago, and it was great to play that again. Messed around in the open world for about 4 hours. I continue to be excited about that one. And
And you guys recorded like a new gameplay today or something, I think, right?
It's true. So you can watch some of the highlights, Alex. You can watch some of the stuff that I did. We'll say
Jeff did things, and we talked about them, and some of them it's really funny. Like there's some interesting stuff you can do in that game, but I'm not going to spoil it for you here. Go check it out.
Absolutely. And then also I am playing Pikmin 3 Deluxe, it's
finally here. Pikmin 3.
Finally here. The deluxe version though. And I'm having so much fun with it. I reviewed the original on Wii U when it came out. Gave it a 9 back then. I think right now I'm only allowed to talk about up the game to a certain point until the review embargo or whatever. It's still a very good game. Probably the biggest change to it is that you can play the campaign co-op now. Before you could only do like certain little modes that were co-op, and it's really great to have the ability to bring another person in for the story. There are a couple of moments where they fudge it a little bit, where like, your crew gets separated, so like the other person's playing like a ghostly version of another character, but it's like I'm more interested in having fun than like keeping the story straight. So my son and I have been playing that together, and it's been so much fun. And it's like the gimmick with the third one, if you have not played it, is that you have multiple guys that you can kind of divide and conquer. And normally when you're managing them as a single like person, you can kind of like access the map and then like direct them like, hey, go here, tell another one, go here while you're doing this other stuff. And it's just so much better and more efficient to have your co-op buddy who is a person with a brain. And you're like, hey, I'm going to go over, check out this tunnel, and I'm going to grab a bunch of like yellow electric guys because I'm sure there's some weird stuff in there. You just farm up a bunch more dudes, and we'll take it from there. So super great, having a really great time with it. And then it's also one of those games too where now my son, who's a big Smash Brothers fan, understands where Alfie and Olimar, what they are, and like what's the significance of the Garden of Hope stage, and like why it is the way that it is, which is always like super funny. So there you go.
Now we just need a new Metroid game so he understands what Samus is.
Exactly. I think he thinks Samus is a retro character from Super Smash Brothers Melee. But oh well, what are you gonna do?
Not even the 64 game.
Gosh, it is weird to think how old Melee is, and that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so this is called Pikmin 3 Deluxe.
It's true.
There's more to it than just the multiplayer stuff. They added new levels or something too, didn't they?
There's some like challenge stages. I had not done too deep a dive. It does include like all the DLC that was available for the Wii U, which I don't believe I played that. I think it came out post-launch. So I don't know specifically what is new in terms of content, so I can't speak specifically to that. But there is apparently some new stuff in addition to the co-op. So
great. Yeah, as a Pikmin fan, I'm actually excited to dive into this one again, and I'm hoping that people buy this one because probably a lot of people missed it on the Wii U, and maybe this encourages Nintendo to give us another one.
Yeah, it is so much fun. It holds up beautifully, like it looks great, and it's just one of those things. There's a lot of incremental changes, like the lock-on targeting, makes harvesting things a lot easier, and it's just such a delightful game. Yeah,
it's such a weird game too to like describe to people. It's kind of like RTS style, but you're raising these Pikmin and throwing them at guys, and it's fun. Just trust me.
Little guy in a big world too. So there you go.
Hey, I just
love to see that.
Yeah,
you gotta love it.
Cool. Brian, anything else you want to throw in there? You playing anything exciting other than Xbox, or is that taking up your time?
Playing Ghost of Tsushima. I'm in love with it. It's my game of the year.
It's so
far. Obviously, we still have Cyberpunk and Valhalla and stuff like that to come. But yeah, it has overtaken Last of Us Part 2 to become my game of the year so far. I'm really, really loving it.
And you haven't played Genshin Impact yet either.
I have not, no.
Okay. Just checking. Cool. Well, yeah, that rounds it up for us. I think that's a great topic. And I think, unfortunately, we're going to have to let you guys go. I know you guys are busy, but we'll be back for emails in just a minute. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. What a great conversation that was with Brian. I'm sorry you guys couldn't make it, but you guys came back. Dantak, Leanna, welcome back.
It's great to be back,
Thanks,
Ben.
Mom.
Great to be a guest on the show. Thanks for having me.
Hey,
It's going to be a
thanks
great
for
show
being-
today.
Thanks for being so patient. We are here to do some community emails. You guys knows what that is? You guys knows what that is?
Oh,
That's when
we
people-
knows.
We
have
know
an
we
People
know.
idea.
write into the show, podcast@GameInformer.com. They say, hey, you guys are doing a great job, and here's why. And here's a question for you. But we love your questions. We love to read them. Like this first one from Jacob. He writes in, he says, hey guys, I enjoyed the show. And I just wanted to say, hey, great job to everybody who works on the GI Instagram account. Specifically Brian and anyone else who works on it. Well done. I've been following the account since it was a couple thousand and now it's almost 200,000. They grow up so fast. He says, yeah, so that's just what a cool email. We always appreciate hearing that kind of stuff from people if they follow our other accounts. And Brian, Jeff Ackervick, and a bunch of other people from production have been working on that. They've been doing a great job. And I thought this was a cool opportunity to just kind of throw it out there. Hey, we're on Instagram. Check it out. We do some cool stuff on there.
I'm going to
sure.
go check it out right now.
Hey, man,
Gee-
recording a podcast. Focus up.
Do
I'm
you
doing
guys
it on my
actually
mobile. I can check us out on the web or on my mobile device. I'll do that
Oh.
today.
That's the
So
thing with the internet?
Yeah.
Dan, do you actually follow Game Informer on Instagram? Do any
I
of you
do.
guys follow
I do.
Instagram?
I do.
I do.
Yeah. I was doom scrolling on Instagram so hard though, like I had to get off of it. I've severed my ties from Instagram and Facebook a little bit now. It's just Twitter is the last beast.
I can't get rid of Twitter. I want to. Facebook I'm off of though.
Who needs them? That's
Who
what I
needs
say.
them?
Yeah.
All you
like
need
it.
is an
I like
email.
them. I use them. I don't read anything people post there because it's all garbage. But I talk to people on them.
I will say I do the Overblood Facebook group is still I'll go on to check that every once
Oh
in
yeah,
a while.
what a great
there.
great group. That's another group too. If you're online, I've
If
watched
you're
the entire. If you're online these days, and who isn't, check out. And you have a Facebook account. You can check out I played the entire Overblood. Is that what it's called?
I
It's
watch
like-
I watched the entire Overblood replay.
Super Replay. Yeah.
So it's kind of a fun group of community group for Game Informer. It's another good shout out. Thanks, guys. Thanks for that reminder. All right. Second email. Here's an actual question for you guys to
That was-
respond to.
I like that first email a lot.
Yeah, the ones where they praise us is pretty great. Keep those coming. This second email from Captain Stubbs. He says, "Hey Reeves and the crew, longtime listener, first time emailer. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the recent mandatory 6-day work week for CD Projekt Red until the Cyberpunk 2077 releases. I've seen arguments either way online, and I'm curious about your thoughts on the matter. Personally, I don't like to see it mandatory from the head of the company. I'd rather see it as an option for employees, but I understand why management is in a tough spot. Thanks for the podcast and all you guys do." So, this news came out, was it this last week? CD Projekt Red, the heads are saying, hey, we know we said we weren't going to do crunch, but hey, it turns out this game is huge and we're getting really close to the wire here. We need to get this done. So we're instituting 6-day work weeks for the entire company. What do you guys think about that?
Sounds like someone dropped their mic or something because of it.
I dropped my 6th day.
I do have thoughts.
Mm.
Shocker, I know. Okay, so I think with this one's a little bit trickier because I've been covering crunch in this industry for a long time. And I feel like there's a really important difference though with CD Projekt Red. One, the compensation is above and beyond what they're already getting. Two, it's a short term before launch. And from what I understand from talking to a few people there was a discussion on, do we want to delay the game again or do we want to do this? And from what I heard, it was a mass majority saying that they agreed to the 6-day work week. There's another important aspect, and I will never advocate for crunch. I was in the military where we worked 15, 18-hour days, 7 days a week for 11 to 12 months. I will never advocate for crunch. But also the Polish working system and cultural attitudes towards employment and production is very different than how it is here. And again, not advocating for it, but the attitude in Polish development, even though the game development over there is still relatively small, it's very different from the work-to-work day basis And in terms of crunch, everyone I've talked to that's over there has not seen it as a crunch. And from what I'm understanding is that it wasn't just a random drop of this is now mandatory. From what I understand is there was a discussion beforehand about weighing the different options. Did I talk to every single person at CD Projekt Red? No. But there's another important part of this that I really feel like doesn't get addressed, and especially with a lot of those like kind of not clickbait, but like deliberately inflammatory headlines, is that it's I don't know. I'm kind of
It's a complicated issue.
it's a complicated issue, and the fact that the day that they went gold, the conversation came back in flux. And I've talked to a couple of the devs that said they were like so excited to share people the news that it was gold. And one person directly told me, she was like, I'm almost scared to sound proud of what we did. She's like, I'm scared of what people are going to say if I say I'm proud of the work we did. And you shouldn't be scared to say what you've done. And this thing has been in production for how long? You earned the right to be proud of what you did. You earned the right. Do you feel burnt out? Do you feel taken advantage of? And she said no. And I'm like, then be proud, like be excited, celebrate this, pop open the champagne and freaking celebrate, because there's a time and a place, to talk about these conversations, and you can have these very important conversations without completely taking a crap on the entire effort that went into these games. Because crunch, the burst of production and productivity, it's not new. It needs to be heavily monitored, but the conversation should not overtake everything, especially in the terms like this where there is the cultural difference that I don't think a lot of outlets that are covering this, and I've read almost every coverage of it because I'm very interested in work-life balance and that kind of progression, but feel like a lot of this coverage that I'm seeing out there is completely negating the cultural differences between work environments, between Poland work environments, and really equating it to the US. And as much as we like to think that the US is the center of the world, it's not. And there's a different attitude towards what is perceived as crunch and what is perceived as a last stretch of development, if that makes sense. Sorry, comment
Yeah.
section.
No, those are really good thoughts. I don't think I can follow them. So, Dan?
I think, Leanna had a lot to say about this. Again, I'm not up to speed 100% on this, but I will say, this instance of crunch is not like the team crunching for a year or 2 years or something like that. It's sort of like, a reality of any deadline-driven environment is that sometimes near the finish line, things are going to ramp up. I'm sure we've all dealt with that here at Game Informer during some of those special cover stories where things have to come together at the last minute. Sometimes it just happens. Um, and I don't think there's any real solution to that. Like when any kind of software development, actually, I think when you get close to the end there's going to be some kind of crunch. Like it doesn't matter how far you set the date out, things change. The world has changed in the last year. So despite what was said, the reality is things change. Everything is fluid, and whatever. It's 6 weeks that they're getting paid for, right?
Yeah. No, I mean,
overtime for.
Right. Okay.
which is great. And I think, yeah, I don't even know where to start. It's just like kind of
But I don't think at the same
making
time
games is hard.
it is extremely difficult.
And
I don't
figuring
think,
out when it's going to come out is super hard too.
by the same token, I don't think I'm knowledgeable enough about this particular topic to weigh in with any kind of authority. So what I think about this is actually incredibly irrelevant. We should care about what the people think about it who are, working there, and pretty much nobody else.
I think, Liana, you had a really good point of like, do they feel taken advantage of? And maybe some of them do. We didn't talk to everybody. So hopefully they don't, though. And I think that's kind of like the main problem that people have had with crunch is that people are being taken advantage of. And so that practice really needs to stop. And hopefully we can support the industry and support the games we love and encourage developers to do better. I think CD Projekt Red is trying here. Like, it definitely had some trouble here, and like, was this the perfect solution? I don't know, but hopefully they're moving in the right direction. It sounds like this is better than the crunch they've experienced in the past. I'll say that.
And I do wonder how much this would have blown up if we didn't have them on record saying that they would not crunch this game.
And the coverage was framed around that too. It wasn't so much the act of the 6-day work week that it was framed with that, like, well, this is what they said, and there was a tweet that went out directly referencing that previous. And I feel like with that kind of thing where there's so much nuance and so much context that is missing in a 140 character tweet. It's dangerous, especially when you have people that don't like to click on articles. They like to knee-jerk reaction based off of a headline. And if these headlines only say part of the story, that's something that I've seen a lot of developers go after journalists of like, hey, your story is wrong. Like, I was there, you were not. Like, don't speak, you're advocate for us, but don't speak over us. And I worry that that's happening a lot here, because a lot of people that are weighing in on it aren't asking the developers themselves. They're not looking at the cultural differences. They're not looking at what was previously said in the whole context. They aren't looking at how they've changed. CD Projekt Red's culture has changed a lot in the last 18 months. They've done a lot. They've been listening to feedback. They've been listening. And I feel like that should play a part. I've worked in jobs before where we were required, especially a previous job where we did a lot of events and production. And there were times where I think it was like 2 hours of sleep a night because we needed to do it. And that sucked. It really sucked. But if there's a conversation about it with the people, I think if it's a decision made by the higher ups, there's no conversation and there's like, you do this, that's an issue. But I also think we should allow, especially Dan, you mentioned this perfectly, and so did you, Ben. I've got a cat. Hi, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Hi,
That's
Sophie.
so cute.
She has opinions.
Yeah.
Even though she's a girl, her name is Coltrane from Gears.
That's
So
adorable.
good.
Kitty.
It's adorable little kitty.
Yeah.
Little kitty, little guest star. But yeah, I think it's a very nuanced thing, and every report of crunch should be handled on a developer by developer basis because there's aspects that a lot of people know, and there's a lot of people that are weighing in that have no idea how development works. They don't know. Well, they think one person makes an entire game, and that's not how that works. There's a
That
lot of
hasn't
details.
happened for like 30 years probably. But yeah, like I could see if I was on the development team, I could see myself being like, you know what? Let's just get this done. 6 more weeks. I want to get this game out the door because they want the game to be done as much as the fans want to have it in their hands, right? They want to have the game done and out the door and let people enjoy the thing they've been working on, I'm sure. So yeah, I don't know. All that to say is it's very complicated, and I know we said it earlier. I just want to say it again. We're not pro crunch by any means. So
Correct.
hopefully that did not come across that way. Definitely is something we'd like to do away with.
But look, we had a nuanced conversation about it. It's a beautiful thing. Maybe social media can't give us all the answers. Shocking.
Pretends to be shocked.
Yeah, that's why Instagram, photos, that's all you need. That's what the internet's good for. Pictures.
Oh, love it. All
I don't
right.
know if you
All
can hear
right.
her purring. She's like
No.
really happy with this conversation, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Just get a cat. You'll feel better.
That's a good idea. That
That's a good idea.
solves everything.
Cats solve everything, apparently. Hey, the ancient pharaohs knew it, right?
Yes.
Just
did.
like our next emailer, he knows cats are great, I'm sure. Caleb from Los Angeles, he writes in, hey informers, longtime listener, first time emailer. I really enjoyed your podcast. It's the only podcast I listen to consistently.
Ooh, thank you.
Mm.
Says he
Big
never misses
win.
an episode. And he also says, I have a question. I have 3 brothers, and we've been playing video games for a long time. My earliest memory of it is the N64 pod racing. He said he got a tingle in the back of his head, and he
He
said,
said, "This is
"This
pod
is
racing,
pod
baby."
He says, eventually we started playing split screen Halo, and our life was never the same again.
I love this person. Who is this? Josh from LA?
Yeah, Josh Stabnik.
Because we played
I
two
think is
games.
his last name.
You're now spiritually
Josh,
connected to this
my
individual.
brother, a long lost brother.
Long lost brother, Caleb. You don't know your brother's name, Alex?
That's we're long lost. We got separated. I don't know his name anymore.
Oh, hey, Caleb, right in. Let's reconnect. Some family bonds here. He says, fast forward 15 years, we're all adults now, and we're spread across the country, naturally. And he says they like to game to stay in touch. But they're at a crossroads this year. We left our Xbox roots in the past, and this generation we've been playing on PS4, and we have no idea what direction the generation will take. So, can you guys make a pro and cons list to help inform our next purchase? Like, should they get PS5s or the Xbox series? What should they do? And they says if we're not allowed to lean a certain console, given your position in gaming news, can you help a specific brother bonding multiplayer situation?
You should
I
get.
think we
Like,
got
we
a
have-
lot of Sony ponies and Xbox in this conversation, right?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, do you two just want to get the PC Master Race BS out of the way, and then we can answer his question?
I mean, that's the only right answer is just get a PC, man.
You can play a lot of games on your PC on the internet. You do
And-
not need a dial-up modem anymore. The technology has changed, and you can now play all these games. You don't need any Xbox Gold Live service or any PlayStation Plus. You can just play. The internet's out there. It's in the air. You
And
can you
and
can
you can
harness
use a
that
controller,
power to play
too.
on PC with your friend and your brother. Whatever. Anyway, you guys give him the console spiel. No, whatever.
I was gonna say, I'll give you guys your moment to do the PC. Liana, do you want to add to
Get
that?
it out of your system.
You can play PC with controllers if that's your shtick. Like, it's fine. And with the Xbox Game Pass, they have a PC Game Pass too. Free games. Love it. Let's do it. Awesome. Love it. Love free games and emulators and modding.
Hmm.
Whoa.
So are you? I don't know if we can say, "Hey, go steal games."
Whoa.
No, like
We're not
there's,
advocating that.
there's like approved
Legal.
websites.
Legal
Yeah, it
stealing.
would need to
We're
be
for legal
legal.
stealing only.
Yeah, I like to get my games on many awesome digital storefronts on the PC on the personal computer, Steam, Epic Game Store,
Steam,
and of course
Origin.
Xbox Game Pass. I don't even know what some of those terms you used are. I don't know what those things are. I would certainly have to,
Well, that's good. And Epic Game Store does a lot of free games too. So
A
and
lot.
and it looks like Sony's finally coming around and
It's
getting some of their
insane. There's
titles.
so many free games now. Like not even just PC, but there's a ton on free PC games, like legal free PC games that you would never need to buy a game again if you really wanted to.
For real. I think I saw, and I may goof this, but I think Joseph Stanicher, former intern at GI, tweeted that he had like hundreds of dollars worth, or almost like thousands of dollars worth of free games from Epic Game Store alone. Like it's and it's like good games too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good indies on that. Going back to the console question though.
Question.
Oh yeah, we were answering a question. I think if it was generations past, I would have said play where your friends are going to be, and that was going to be Xbox for me. That's why I got the one. But with the advent of crossplay, now granted it's not everywhere, but crossplay is I'm hoping is going to be the next big wave of this generation, one of the staples that it's becoming. There's a little bit more freedom in that, but like if you guys are still, if you're looking to get back in the Microsoft ecosystem, I don't think there's a better time than right now with Infinite within hopefully the next year, Halo Infinite within the next year, and Game Pass, just having those abilities to talk to your brothers and be like, hey, like, what do you guys want to play this week? Like, you have that option to try basically like what hundreds of titles through that, like, and multiplayer and everything through that.
That's a good point. Yeah, I always say like play where your friends are too. I think I coined that term.
that should be your new play where your friends are.
Yeah.
Ding, and then we get
And
the logo.
my friends are all games. So it's like not only play where your friends are, but like check out like the game series that you're really into. For example, Halo. Like if you guys want to get into Halo again, then yeah, Xbox is totally for you. For me, like I'm really excited about a lot of PlayStation games as well, like the new Miles Morales game, or there's I'm sure another game that I want to play.
GameInformer.com. Play where your friends
Go
Go
are.
check them
Ding.
out.
Yeah.
Ding.
Whatever, like the new Naughty Dog stuff, the God of War that got announced. I'm gonna want to play those on the new PlayStation. So for me,
Definitely.
I'm in the industry. I'm gonna buy up both consoles. For you, I'm sure you don't want to do that, Caleb. I don't know. I would say look at the upcoming games and play what you guys want to play together.
I would say too, look at the barrier of entry. Like if you think that, like you look at Sony's game lineup, you like the more RPG focus that Sony tends to have right now, even though Xbox is working on it, get that first. Because if down the line you decided you wanted to do both, I've always had both gens. Even before I worked in the industry, I'm greedy. I like to play everything. Xbox One I got for like years, and Halo to play with buds. But the barrier of entry to get an Xbox is really cheap. If you wanted to go the all digital, it's $299. You can set that money aside. You could save the money you get with the free games every month with PlayStation, put that aside for an Xbox. So it's not so much like last year where everything was going to be $500 right out the gate. It's easier, I feel, this year to get into both generations. And then you have the services like xCloud that make it easier to get on the Xbox hype as well without the actual system itself. Got options. This gen I feel like has a lot more options than last gen did, or this
Great.
gen.
I think we've said just buy everything is basically what we're coming down to.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we
very
said one
helpful,
thing or
I'm
the
sure.
other.
Yeah.
Any specific brother bonding multiplayer games that you think they should play?
I mean, they've talked about Halo. I think because is it only 2 brothers or is it 3?
I don't know if he
I
said.
can't remember. Okay,
I was
if you have
in my
3, like,
mind.
yeah,
I'm thinking there's 3 of them.
yeah. If you do, Apex would be perfect for that. You know, have that squad of 3. I'm trying to think other like non.
Oh, he said he has 3 brothers, so there's 4 of them.
Well, 4
Yeah.
to
Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War has zombies, co-op zombies. That's
yeah, that's coming
dope.
up.
There you go.
Well,
Also, they have PS4s, so like I don't know if you grabbed Fall Guys or not, but you should definitely be playing some Fall
is
Guys
great.
with your
Yeah,
brothers.
Yeah.
Among Us is a good way to lose your family members, so that's a good choice. Yeah, that way you don't have to deal with them for a while because they won't talk to you for about a week after you play that with them. So
And that's free on mobile, so
that's right.
I'm gonna channel my Leo Vader here from another world. I'm gonna get him back in here, and Siege could be a good way if you guys like tactical stuff. Siege could be a good bonding game, or like Dan said, a good game to rip you guys, tear you asunder. Because if someone's not holding up in that game, it'd be easy to get upset at them. So I think those are some good ones. If you like the Star Wars and the pod racing, don't play. Well, no pod racing, but play Squadrons.
Squadrons is good.
The tingle in the back of your neck.
You need
Do
to
it for the
become force
tingle.
sensitive, baby.
Feel the
Always do
tingle.
it for the tingle. Yeah.
Hopefully that helps, Caleb. Good luck, and let us know what you end up buying. He said PS too. He said PS. Was there beef between Alex and Dan when Alex first came on the show? They really get along great now, and I love their banter, but I sense a little tension there. Maybe I'm just spreading gossip.
We have mad
I
beef.
ship it.
Yeah, I hate.
We have mad beef. I totally hate this MFer over here. Okay.
We have a wrestling
You're
match.
putting it me.
Back when we were still in the office, we would have a wrestling match every day, and it would be
True.
yeah.
True.
We called it
think he's-
ground beef.
Oh my
There-
god.
I think he's referring to, because I know the episode he's talking about. I came in all hot shot, thinking I knew everything,
Uh-huh.
and I think Hansen asked the question of is Star Wars it was something when Fallen Order was coming out, and the question was something like, is Fallen Order going to eclipse Sekiro? And I just out of the gate I was like, boom, 100%, because I thought he meant from like a sales perspective, and then Dan just
Lay down
he
the law.
turned and he went in, and he put me in my place real real quick. And I was like, much to learn I have.
You
Can't
guys
just
get
be
along
gallivant
great
on
now,
off here.
I do recall.
Perfect.
I have never had a problem with Alex. Okay,
That's right.
So, he did get shut down a little bit on that From Software thing. I recall this episode,
Yeah.
but it wasn't like there was definitely no beef or bad blood or anything like
No.
that.
Of course.
I talk to Alex all the time. All right, I call him on weekends.
Yeah.
There's only like one set of editors that doesn't really get along, right? But hey,
Yeah.
we're not spreading rumors.
Yeah. And real talk too, like the second that episode was over, we talked about it. Dan was like, hey, sorry if you felt like I came at you too much. And I was like, no, like, of course not. I'm learning in this. So we've gotten a drink or two together. Dan and I are buds. I can't wait to ground beef again when we get back into the office.
Sure.
Great. Next email. Corey from Big Lick, Minnesota. He writes in, he says, hey, longtime listener here. I have a question for Dan Tack. Why haven't you opened my gift in Pokemon Go? My wife and I have been wondering for almost 2 years now why you won't accept a stranger's gift. As always, love you guys. What the heck,
Well,
dude?
There's a very simple explanation for that, and it's that I haven't played Pokemon Go in several years, so that's why I haven't opened it.
This guy went out of his way to give you a gift. He's put his heart out there. He's
Okay,
trying
it's
to be
not that
nice.
hard to give a person a gift in Pokemon Go. You do know that.
Well, you gotta swipe the thing.
Listen, I really do appreciate the gift. I've had that uninstalled from my phone for several years at this point. But if I ever pick it back up, I promise I'll accept that gift. But I'd have to re-download it and start playing again, which I have no intention of doing. But
Come
it had
on.
nothing to do with you. And it really had nothing to do with you. Stop playing the game, you know?
Don't listen to him. It's all about you.
You're not going to accept Corey's gift.
Well, I'm not gonna.
What if it's something good? Don't you
I
want to
bet
know what it
I
is?
bet there's a ton of crappy gifts waiting for me on that game if I ever log back in again.
Not Corey's. I
No,
hope you're not
Corey's
calling
Corey's is
Corey's
great.
a crappy gift,
He
dude.
called your gift crappy.
I did not do that.
Corey, you should retribution. Just kidding.
Yeah,
Please don't
definitely.
take that seriously.
You know, again,
I'm
it's just
sorry,
because I stopped playing the game, and I'm sure this happens a lot. You know, at the age old meme of like your Steam friend, and you can see last played a game. 360 days ago, somebody that you played games with like forever, and then all of a sudden, just one day they're gone. I get it. I'm sorry, but it has nothing to do with you. I just stopped playing Pokemon.
All right,
That's fair.
fair enough.
Sounds like you
Landon.
guys got beef now.
This is
Yeah,
apparently
now you got some real beef, dude.
this is
Watch out.
manufactured beef, is what this is.
All right, isn't it all though? All right, Landon from Fairfax, Virginia. As a fan of both DICE Battlefield series and the Star Wars Battlefront games, I always appreciated how the Battlefront series included multiple eras. I think Battlefront 2 specifically included multiple areas like the Clone Wars, Galactic Empire, and Skywalker Saga. So I was thinking, this is Landon still. I was thinking that it would be cool to have a refresh of the Battlefield games that span the different time periods like the Korean War, Vietnam, and the Gulf War in one game. What do you guys want to see in the future from the future of the Battlefield series?
I think
I would
Battlefield
love
needs to reinvent itself completely. I think it's in that stage, and especially with Call of Duty trying to eat some of its lunch here with this next game. Maybe it's time to pull back from the table and think about what you're serving. Right? I think the last game probably gave him a lot of direction from from a sales perspective and data analytical standpoint and all this other stuff to maybe revamp what Battlefield is today and what it can be. But sometimes you don't like taking chances, especially with a big franchise like that. But then, there's a danger there too, man. Those franchises can get real stale over time if you don't take any chances, right? So
I feel like that was the problem with the last Battlefield. It was really safe, despite all the controversy of women's. Like, it was really safe. Like, the multiplayer felt really safe. I'm a huge Battlefield fan, but I wasn't feeling the last Battlefield.
Here's how you do what both of you are talking about.
Okay.
Bring back Bad Company.
I was gonna say that. Yes, Alex, you are my best friend, and I love you.
Hold on, is there some beef going on here?
Yeah, hold on here.
It's
Yeah,
Wendy's beef. It's good.
It's
I
very
love
good.
this beef. This is good beef. I am so with you. Bad
This
Company
is-
needs a
this is
revival. And there's so many
Wagyu, baby.
rumors about it. Like,
Yeah.
give it to us. We want it, please. And anybody that says they don't want it, they're just misguided, and we can show them the
Or they
light.
haven't-
Give us a chance.
I don't think people recognize what that series did for Battlefield. And I think what you guys are talking about, the safety and staleness to go, retreading those grounds that the numbered Battlefields did, you can solve that with Bad Company because it's not a numbered. So, you can take more risk with that, and those stories are great. They don't take themselves too seriously, and I think there's easily some of the most fun Battlefield entries that we have. So I think focusing on Bad Company and letting go of the serious war-torn stories and maybe going like that mercenary, like Gold Rush type of way, I think that could be really fun. And then combining that with whatever next gen gives you for destruction abilities, I think that could be a hell of a time.
Spicy take. Sorry.
Hey, nice
I
job,
think-
Alex.
I think they should beat their competitors to the punch and forget the Battlefield 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they should make game as a platform Battlefield, and they could beat Call of Duty to that. While they're still stuck in annualized land. I think that would be a bold play.
That would be. Yeah. I wouldn't have an issue with that. Liana, what hit us with some spice here.
I would like to see like a remastered collection of the older Battlefield games. I think that would be really dope if they did like pulled back from the annual releases, like continued pulling back from that, release a remaster version of the first 3 games. I think that would be awesome. But yeah, spicy take, which a lot of people are probably going to be mad at me for, is Call of Duty Black Ops 3 is actually one of my favorite Call of Duties in the entire franchise, which I understand. Oh my God, it's Leanna with another really stupid gaming tape. I get it. I totally, and it's earned. Like, I'm not saying it's the best game in the franchise. I'm just saying I personally enjoyed it much. But what they did part of their storyline towards the end before you got to that big twist, which I won't reveal, but like they kind of did what you're talking about, but in one sequence. Like there was a memory sequence where they went through a couple different eras of the war, of wartime eras, and then randomly zombies started coming in. So they even like did a fourth wall break between the zombies mode and the campaign. And that was a hit or miss with people. I personally really dug it. It added an element I wasn't expecting. And to go through the different memory sequences of the different war times, it was a really cool way to explore that, again, was a risk. A lot of people didn't like that, and it was a risk. But to me, I appreciated the fact that they took the risk, because for me, like the Black Ops series is my favorite branch of Call of Duty. To see Battlefield do something like that would be amazing. And Battlefield really needs to get it back in touch with what people care about. People are more and more going into the single player direction, even with their multiplayer focused games. We need to have protagonists we care about. We need to have an antagonist we care about. Give us that conflict of the bad guy being somebody we can find ourselves relating to, and the good guy that we're like, is he really a good guy? Give us context, give us some depth, because that's something that's been kind of missing from the last few Battlefield games. If you're not going to go the bad company route, which would be dumb, do that next, please. But if you don't do the bad company route, you need to be careful, because you're going into these really stale storylines that don't resonate with people. And right now, there's too much other competition. There's too many games that are giving you characters to care about. And if you do that, you're going to tap into the Tumblr crowd, which is millions of gamers that do fan fiction and fan art. Like, get the community more involved. If you give us characters that we care about, you're going to be tapping into that community as well. And you're going to be making longevity with those characters that people remember, no matter how many Battlefield games come out later.
Great.
And spiel. Sorry.
I think we fixed it. Andy McNamara, if you're listening, my friend.
Said. Yeah, Andy, you can make this happen, man. Make our dreams come true. Also, Dead Space. Get it on it, man.
Oh my God.
Titanfall 3. Hold on. Titanfall 3.
We're not talking about Dead Space. Final email. This email comes in from Ben Reeves from West St. Paul, Minnesota. He says, "Hey, GIers, I love the show. It's not as good as it used to be, and I still hate that new music. I don't understand why you guys are always biased against Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. Anyway, keep up the great wart." This idiot wrote wart instead of work.
I get it.
He said, "Keep up the great work." Yeah. All right. Anyway, here's my question for the week. What games do you guys consider required reading? Personally, I think Metroid is a masterclass in game design and still holds up today. Can you guys please tell me what other classics are still worth playing if you love the game industry? Maybe this could be a recurring segment. He says, "Hey, and you know what, Ben? I agree. This could be a great recurring segment. What do you guys think is required reading?"
Flawless.
So, I think Super Metroid is a great choice for that, but I also think that today's age of gaming, there is no required reading, because you can pick and choose your genre and your game, and you're going to find new stuff that resonates with you specifically.
I'm sorry, that's the wrong answer, Dan.
I don't care.
What do you guys think is the required reading?
I do what I want.
All right.
Whatever.
I think Half-Life. Half-Life is required reading. I feel like the first one. Half-Life revolutionized how we approach shooters, how game designers approach level design. BioShock Infinite's director has mentioned numerous times that Infinite wouldn't even exist without Half-Life. That Half-Life's influence was completely throughout that game. And there are so many titles now that have been influenced by that. And that's why it took so long to get, even though Alex is VR, that's why they were waiting on Half-Life 3. As many jokes as Valve made about it, they wanted to make sure they waited to put out a title in that franchise that was as impactful as the first one. And the first game was not only just enjoyable, didn't really age well, but it was very enjoyable. But it's required reading in the fact that I guarantee you most of the games that you play right now in your current library have been very heavily influenced by Half-Life, whether it's very apparent or not.
Did you play Black Mesa?
I did. I love
remake that came out earlier in the year.
Oh yeah, I love anything Half-Life. I even really enjoyed Alex. Alex made me really motion sick though, so I never got to beat it.
I did that to you.
Yeah, I can't look
at you, Alex. Darn you, Alex.
I think that's just called disgust. It's okay.
I get a tingle in the back of my head whenever I look at him.
It's a good thing, baby.
Alex, do you have any required reading? What do you think is like
Yeah.
play?
Yeah, I know this is going to make a lot of people roll their eyes because it's not that
do
old
it.
to be considered a
Don't do
classic.
it. Don't
I'm
do
not,
it, Adam.
and I'm not going the direction you think I'm going to go.
Thank God.
I think if you want to, if you're really new to shooters and stuff like that, like really, I'm talking like in the last 5 years or whatever, I would go back and play Call of Duty, the original Modern Warfare, because that is, at least in my life and experience, that was one of the first time that RPG like system came into a shooter with multiplayer like that, and it
Yeah.
kind of set the bar for, I guess I can't say it set the bar for creating your class, creating like a class, but it set that leveling system, that kind of drop to the drip feed of the carrot on the stick. There's a lot of things I'm saying
You're
right
using a
now,
lot
but
of words here.
yeah, there's a lot of words, but I think the leveling system in that is, you can't not have that in a game today. And I think some required reading games are tough because some of them haven't aged well. Like going back and playing Super Mario 64, that game has not aged well, and it's frustrating. So, but I think Call of Duty, the original Modern Warfare, still plays well. It's a little, if you're not used to those a little bit more stiff shooters like Halo or Call of Duty back in the day, like, that may take a little getting used to, but it's still, I think it's still a really great multiplayer experience, and you can see the seeds that it sowed that it
Yes.
put down, yeah, and how
Poison
it.
the crops by its progression systems that make us now all want +1, +1, +1.
I knew that's where this was gonna go, but Modern Warfare is still yes, Dan, you are correct, but I still think the original Modern Warfare is still something you should go back to if you're interested.
Yeah,
and the
it is
remaster's
great.
back. Yeah,
it's perfect.
Bioshock.
Are you-
There you go.
Well, I was going to say, are you going to stick with your there are no required reading?
I,
You're going to say
I
Bioshock?
am sticking with that, but let's say that there was. I'd say Bioshock.
Okay.
People always ask me, Dan, you hate stories in games. Well, Bioshock is a good example of storytelling in games, I think, since it's so much of it is, it is shown, not told. Nothing is, you don't have to read anything. It's all, well, you can't, but it's all right there. It's all for you. It's experiential storytelling, right? And it rocks. It does a really good job of it.
it is. Yeah, that is that's one of my favorite stories in games. Would you kindly go play that?
Is that the best twist in gaming?
I
Without
see what
talking
you
about
did
the
there.
twist? Is it?
Is it the best twist
It's
in
one of
gaming?
them.
It's top. It's God tier. Like, out.
Top 10.
Alex laying
Probably
down
top 3.
proclamations
I'm
today,
throwing
all
it
right?
down, baby. You're entering
good.
church. Yeah, it's very,
Hey.
very good.
Hey guys, those are all really good suggestions. I love it. I think what we should do is have our readers write in and tell us, what games do you think are required reading? Give us your one game that you're like, this is a game that like every gamer should play. This everybody who says, "Hey, I'm a fan of video games. This is something you should have under your belt." And tell us why. We want to know exactly why, and then we will talk about it on a segment in the show, and we will induct that game into the Game Informer's required reading Hall of Fame.
God,
Oh,
This is just the character list, but with games now.
No. What are you
No,
talking about?
I
No,
think
this is
I think
we're
this
gonna
Ben
vet
Reeves
them.
fella is onto something.
not
I
everything's
like
going
it.
into this list. We're gonna vet them. It's like, hey, if this
Okay.
game is not required reading, doesn't count. I'm just saying.
Okay. I'm into it.
All right.
Is everything
Sit-
counted from today?
If people write in, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Dang.
Please send those in, podcastgameinformer.com. You can send us character lists, which is a very different thing we do. If you want, send us 3 characters, podcastgameinformer.com, or just a fun email. We love hearing fun emails. We love getting good questions or games. We'll do it all. I said it. I'm not backing down. That brings us to our final segment of the show, which is Dan.
Get Wrecked, I believe is the title.
That's right. It's time to get wrecked, everybody. What do you guys have to recommend? Liana?
We recently just streamed gun gameplay. We did Baldur's Gate 3, which is amazing if you're wanting to get into D&D or like D&D or are missing Dragon Age Inquisition or Dragon Age Origins. If you are interested in the gameplay, you can come watch us play very badly, which is great. And then also, if you are not so much into D&D but are looking to it and are missing more RPG aspects, we also have a really cool article on the site, which is a Mass Effect homebrew for D&D, which is kind of blending that BioWare love even more. If you're interested in checking that out.
Cool.
Cool, Alex.
Liana, the illustrious Jeff Cork, and I did an 18-minute video earlier this week that highlighted some of the more random elements of Watch Dogs Legion. Everything from starting a ground war with a pocket watch to panhandling for money. There's some wild stuff in that game, and Jeff's really excited about it. I've never been one for this series, but this is getting me interested in it. The sheer amount of possibility. So definitely go check that out. It's a goofy, fun time, but it's a good look at the game. And if you're curious about what you can actually do in that game, I think that's a good look at it.
Dan, what about you?
Well, first off, I just want to say, get wrecked!
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
This is my favorite part of the show. I'd recommend my Genshin Impact review, just because I think, despite all the nasty things I had to say about the monetization model, game is absolutely beautiful on many different fronts, and it's worth your time to check out. And I think it's well articulated in that review. You can find out at GameInformer.com. You can use your mobile phone to get there too. Now on the phones.
Is it on Android and iOS?
When
Get
you're on your way to go follow us on Instagram.
And Instagram, I was going to say, yeah. I'm going to point people to, there is an opinion piece that Jason Guisao wrote on why you need to play Nier Automata. It's up on the site. Why you need to play Nier Automata. As somebody who already played it, I'm convinced I should play it. So he has a lot of fondness for that game. And if you're at all curious and you've heard the buzz and you want to know more, maybe Jason can convince you. So, excuse me, check that out. That concludes our show. Thanks for watching and listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show. We really appreciate it. We also appreciate when you like and subscribe or subscribe to the magazine. And please give us a rating or review. We love it. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode. Until then, game on.
Game
Bye.
freaking on. Let's go, baby.
Let's go.
Breath of the Wild's a good game.
No.